Hello and welcome to Reviews by the Slice. My name is Tony Nguyen, and to my left is Chris Pinson. And today, Chris, we are going to talk a little Superman.
Trust me, I'm excited for this. Tony, you and I had a lot of conversation the last couple of weeks with the debut of the newest Superman in the franchise. We got a lot to get to today. So, Tony, what do you think overall? I mean, do you think that this new Superman is the Superman that tops them all?
I think that this Superman is a good embodiment of everything that has come before it. It is a nod to all the other Supermen in Superman movies. However, I don't think that he is the Superman.
Really?
Yes. Do you concur, or because it sounds like you're sounding like you're a David Cornsett fan?
I mean, right, originally you and I talked, and I told you between this franchise and Batman's franchise, I just haven't understood how things have gotten kind of lost in translation. I mean, between Batman and Superman, the two most famous superheroes on the planet Earth, how each franchise has kind of gone by the rules and then gone by the wayside with the different installments of them. But for me, for Cornsett, I really believe that he was, in fact, an awesome Superman. Like you said, he did, in fact, embody everything about the humility and the humanity that even alien Superman represents. But I think, and you might agree with this, Henry Cavill, the man who's been the Man of Steel the last few Superman movies, to me, he looked like him, he sounded like him, and I think Henry Cavill, in my opinion, is probably going to be number one over the rest of the Superman cast.
I could see your argument there. And yes, I will agree to an extent that Henry Cavill definitely looks the part. However, if we go through what happens in the movies and how they're written and they're just portrayed the way that they're portrayed, I mean, it took some time for Cavill to get to where he needed to.
Fair.
To be the quintessential Superman. Because I think, and we've talked briefly about this, I think we both agree that no Superman has been able to top the animated version of Superman in the 90s.
Fair, right? Because you and I both grew up on those cartoons, Superman, Batman, Justice League, and just the characters they picked, the voice actors they used for them, the way that they portrayed these characters being these truth seekers, just seeming to have that it factor that made you believe, even though they were cartoons, this was the embodiment of what Superman needed to be. That for me was the basis, because I was too young and not even born when Christopher Reeves was the original Superman. But to me, as you said, even though Cavill may not have had the best parts per se, or the best directing, or the best movies, I will say that to me, when you look at him in this picture, he's second from the right. That to me looks like Superman. He looks like the guy that is, right, dark-haired, blue-eyed, bigger than life, and perform feats that make him superhuman. Mm-hmm. And he just seemed to be the guy that to me looked the most like I would draw out a character who is Superman.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we both agree that Superman should have a certain look and just general feel of how they, how he should be portrayed. And in my opinion, I think that it's Christopher Reeve the whole way through.
Really?
No, I mean, yes. Out of these four that you're seeing, in terms of films, I think Brandon Routh is just more or less doing an impression,
yes,
of Christopher Reeve. So, I mean, though he's fantastic in it, and he's great whenever he got to do his TV run to reprise Superman in the Arrowverse. It's the what happens in the movies, and to me, Christopher Reeve, I think also, if you were to draw a Superman, I don't think he'd look too far off from what Christopher Reeve looks like. And I think what Reeve has over Cavill is that he has the hope, the real feeling of hope, the real feeling of being a friend. That's the whole point of Superman, is that, you shouldn't feel afraid that, this, caped stranger will come and pick you up when you're down. You're not going to feel intimidated by somebody like Henry Cavill, who, he's just this giant jock, in my opinion. Christopher Reeve just has a more open, more friendlier, more Superman-esque vibe to him.
I will say that I think that, right, I think probably you're right as far as playing Clark Kent. I think Christopher Reeves to me played a great kind of bumbling, goofy, should be a little more aggressive, should be a little more charismatic kind of Clark Kent. But again, looking at Cavill, like Cavill's the guy that even though Reeves had the look, he had the great chiseled chin. To me, Cavill looks like the guy that I would want. But as you said, right, maybe Reeves, in your opinion, or Korn said, maybe they portrayed that humility, that vulnerability that made Superman so empathetic to mankind and saying, hey, I might be this great big intruder in some people's minds, like Lex Luthor, but I'm here to save the day, and I'm here to keep you, as the humans of Earth, safe from all harm on the planet or in the galaxy.
Gotcha. Well, you said to kind of Clark Kent.
Yes.
Honestly, I don't think Cavill is a great Clark Kent.
Okay.
I mean, you put the glasses on him, and I mean, really, it still looks like Henry Cavill. You know what I mean? Like, there's a great scene in Superman, and Superman 2, especially whenever Clark is trying to reveal who he is to Lois.
Yeah.
And he has that scene where he's in, her apartment, takes off the glasses, and you see him just change that demeanor. He does. Change
100%.
Like, that's Superman. But then he's so, when he realizes, that now it's not the time, puts the glasses back on, he slouches, he changes his voice and everything like that. Like, I just don't feel like Cavill really had a Clark Kent. A Superman, sure, he did a great job, but I think it's still not the full package. It's half of a package, in my opinion.
Okay, so then what about Cornset? Like, where does he fall in this? Because we both liked his performance in the new Superman movie. In this year's debut of this movie, I thought that he really did a great job as being both Clark Kent and Superman, but is he the perfect hybrid?
And I think that's the case, is that they just casted a guy who is perfect, that captures all the pros of all the people like prior to him. Why I don't put him as best is just because I think that we just need a little bit more time to see how he develops a character, because it might still be, in my opinion, kind of a reminiscence to Christopher Reeve. It's still kind of going back as that is the prototype, and it adds the element of strength and everything that Cavill has. But Cavill is just a complete tank, in his movies, and you don't see that with Corn Sweat. I mean, he gets beat up the entire time.
He does,
and you see with Reeve having 4 movies, you see him being super powerful, but never abusing it, taking the time to protect the people around him, the crowds, even in the middle of a fight, and he, I mean, the one thing that I did love that is so Superman that Cornset did was save the squirrel.
Yes, the middle of that giant fight with that one-eyed monster thing.
Yeah.
Yes, he saves the squirrel of all things.
And even with the big one-eyed monster, he was concerned about it. He didn't want it to be killed. He was like, well, let's capture it, put it somewhere, so that we can study it or keep it alive. And and he was very sad that whenever it gets killed. And that's the thing, is Superman has to love life. And I mean, Cavill, he was kind of depressed for a long time throughout his films, and like it was to him, though. To me, I think all he really cared about was Lois, and that opened the door for everyone else. But I think he just it didn't feel like he cares as much. Where Reeve does. I feel it, and I know it because also after he hung up the cape, if you will, he continued to do charitable things, do very Superman-esque things, even after his accident, and that left him in the wheelchair and everything like that. A front runner in stem cell research and helping bringing in the light in the disabled community, and giving them more recognition and fundings for their things. Christopher Reeve embodied Superman in and out of the cape, and that's why I think that really changed my opinion, because I was definitely a Cavill fan, and I still am, and I really hope to see him come back and do what I know that he can do, and it will absolutely kill it. But we're just looking at the movies and how they're portrayed at the moment, and I think that's why I'm sticking with Reeve.
All right. Well, since you brought that up, is there a case to be made that the newest Superman is now the newest and best Superman? For a long time, we talked about this, right? Superman 1, really good. Great introduction, great character. Superman 2 came out, and that pretty much has been the gold standard of Superman movies. So do we have a new leader in the clubhouse, or is Superman 2 still the best Superman movie?
Despite me saying that I love Reeve and everything like that, there's a lot of issues. There's a lot of issues with the way he was portrayed in 1, 2, 3, and 4, mostly by just the whimsical extra powers that he has, such as the ability to throw his logo.
Yeah, that was a really weird one that came out in number 2, and I was like, What do we throw in the logo? It's some kind of fishing net? I don't even understand that.
And I don't know which version of Superman 2 you saw. Did he reverse time again? Because that's what he did for sure in the first one.
Right, in the first one he did. In the second one, no. There was no reversing of time, right? Okay. But he was obviously smart enough to know that Lex Luthor would betray him in the end, and he was able to get Lord Zod and his other 2 evil henchmen with him to lose their powers because Lex Luthor wanted to make sure Superman would lose his going in the molecule chamber.
Okay, yeah. And then the other one that always bothered me and doesn't really make sense is the power to kiss a person and they lose their memory. I mean, that's a little weird of a power.
Right. It's like if Men in Black could kiss people instead of using a flashlight and just be like, tink.
Yeah, exactly. In later films, he'll be able to reconstruct a broken. I think it was the Great Wall of China. Parts of it gets broken, and then he just looks at it and then recreates it real quick, with his eyes. I mean, that's not Superman's abilities.
Right.
That's what I'm saying in terms of that's where it turns me off. Cornset's or the 2025 Superman stuck with it and had what the core powers are, the strength, the flight, the
laser vision, the ice cold breath,
the breath, and then you don't see it, but he does have the X-ray vision as well, right? He didn't use that in the movie, but that's it. I mean, for the most part, the real power is that he's always going to somehow come out on top. That's him.
He's Superman.
He's Superman, so he's supposed to be that. And so that's why I think that Superman 2025 is the best Superman movie.
Right. I think a lot of people could obviously say that this one trumps, the 70s version with Christopher Reeves because, of course, right, nowadays the graphics are sharper, everything's better technologically. But I think you're right. I think this newest one in 2025 is by a hair better than Superman 2 in 78. It's just the fact that with this version, the reasons you've laid out, his humanity, his humility, his empathy, and being able to just truly kind of be the hybrid of both the goofy kind of Clark Kent and the guy that is the beacon of hope, the one that everybody turns to and looks for in the dark times as the beacon of light, as opposed to, Batman being the Dark Knight symbol and the vengeance. I think you're right. I think Cornset really did a great job doing this. And even though I voiced to you all the various reasons why I was tired of the franchise, I didn't think this would be good. I didn't think the rest of the cast would also live up to it. But overall, everybody in the movie, minus Lex Luthor by a tweak, played a really good role. And I thought that overall, it probably is the best Superman movie of the franchise.
Okay. Well, I think it's just going to be a matter of time before if Cornsweet and James Gunn's vision, this Superman character goes on and continues to do more of what we saw from that first movie, it wouldn't take much for him to top Reeve. And because I believe he would really take the character into his own and really make it unique to him, as he seemingly is a guy who deeply cares about the character. As much as everyone else that was part of it, and that's important. But he got the chance to do so. He's getting the chance to do so, and I hope that he doesn't let us down.
Okay, so here's my question. Now that we know that obviously, right, Lex got arrested, the ending is what it is, right? Everybody's back to being happy and safe. Where would you go, Tony, if you had the pen to paper to write the script for the next Superman? Where should this movie franchise go next? Are we bringing in old friends from the past? Are we bringing in other villains that we haven't touched on before, or villains we have?
Honestly, I think it needs to escalate. It needs to challenge Superman. I believe that, in an ideal world, I'd love to see Brainiac as the next big bad for Superman to deal with. I think because they revealed that the Kryptonians may not be the greatest civilization out there, because they, in the film, in spoilers, we're trying to avoid it, but in this case I'm going to have to, so stop if you're listening and haven't seen it yet. But spoiler warning, the message that Clark Kent's parents tell him is like, rule over Earth, take over Earth.
Right, so kind of like a play from Guardians of the Galaxy, right? When Star-Lord finds out that Kurt Russell, his dad in the movie, actually has been trying to populate and control every world he can, right?
Yeah. And that might just be his family and what his parents think he should do, or it could be a Kryptonian thing. They are a civilization that conquers. And I think that Superman would be interested to know more about that. And I think we might find out more about that in Supergirl, as that is the next film that's coming out. She's obviously the cousin, and she was around whenever Krypton was in its still around, and it'd be interested to see what they think about that, how they portray that. And I think, because if Superman is trying to discover more about his past, fighting a character like Brainiac, who's known to take civilizations and archive history by shrinking it into jars and keeping it as a collection, but destroying everything else. He's a great source to actually get some information about what's going on, and I think it just kind of writes itself. What do you think would be an ideal next movie for you?
Look, right, you make great points, right? Because obviously, if there is a gigantic threat to the galaxy that involves somebody that could shrink, right, the Earth or the Milky Way galaxy down and harvest it in a jar, then yeah, that might be a big problem. And I'm not opposed to that. But I'm also the kind of guy that says, look, Superman had to deal with Lex Luthor, right? A brainiac himself, a threat of evil genius. So we already kind of got that concept. Now, I want to take it to a more dangerous threat, right? An all-time threat. And that's where, especially from the 90s cartoons that you and I watched, I would love to see us break into the dark side era of Superman, where, Darkseid in the cartoons was, right, this destroyer, much like a Thanos. He was a destroyer of worlds, destroyers of galaxies and universes, and he is one of those all-time feared legendary characters, certainly a top 2 or 3 rival of Superman. And with him being as big and bad and legendarily infamous and tyrannical as he is, I think that's the guy that audiences would love to see next. Because in my mind, you could take that and make it into a part 1 and a part 2. Right? You can write a great cliffhanger for part 1, where, of course, kind of like in the end of the Marvel Universe, where you had Infinity Wars and then Endgame, same kind of thing, right? You let the audience believe that, oh my gosh, Darkseid really is as all powerful, as all dangerous as we believe he is. Yeah. And this is where everything is as down and as dark as it can be for Superman and Earth. Yeah. And then part 2 can be, what do you know, Superman saves the day. But I believe that Superman is ready to go to the next level, and it needs to be somebody that's going to challenge him in more than just a brainiac kind of way.
Well, what do you what happens after that then?
Oh, we got. Come on, then you know what's coming next. It's about. Come on, it's got to be Doomsday. Doomsday would definitely be the last part of that because, as we know, right? Yeah. Unfortunately, Superman, right? He's virtually indestructible and also never ages. These Superman that we have, they're great, but they do age out, and that's where I think if you're gonna have a run as a famous character, right? Whether you're a Christian Bale for Batman, you are one of the Spider-Man guys, you're Superman. You only get so long before time starts wearing on you. And that's where I think I would love to see Corn Sweat go from you fought Luthor, then you got to fight Darkseid, and then at the end, part 4, or could be the third movie, you got to fight Doomsday, the guy that has been constructed to absolutely kill you and maybe be the only force in the universe that could. Yeah. And I think that's where one of those great movies of highs and lows and mega highs could walk him out into the sunset, if you will, as Superman probably would go.
Yeah, I mean, I like where it's going, where you're going with it, for sure. And,
but I have no rights in what they're going to do, so I'm just spitballing here.
Sure. I'm excited to see what this DCU is going to do because I think right now under the James Gunn flagship, it's looking bright. It's looking really good, and I mean, as long as they stick with the characters and in terms of how they were written and how they're portrayed, and they're not too far off from who they are, then I think it'll be a lot of fun to finally see other characters come together, finally for a Justice League movie. So yeah, that's our take. That's our little take on Superman here. If you guys wanted to, hear more about what maybe we think about maybe our ideal Lois or our ideal Lex, we could certainly go.
Because I got a lot of thoughts on that one, believe me.
I know you do. Let us know. Let us know if you want us to do a follow up on Lois and Lex, or Lex in particular. Yeah, if not in the Superman world, what else do you want us to react to? So for Chris Pinson, I'm Tony Nguyen, and it's been Reviews by the Slice.